If you haven't been following the Kart FedEx Championship Series recently, here's what you've been missing.
With 8 laps to go, I really thought that I could win the race. The car was running great, and I thought that we had made the right decision.
Time and space to begin to compress in the last laps of the race. Blundell looks down the inside of Fittipaldi, but the Brazilian gives him nothing.
Well, when I took the white flag, I knew I had rain tires, but I thought I could hold him off.
There is DeFerrin onto the front straightaway. Does Blundell have time to run him down?
I think he can close the gap, but he's got to be able to get by him. He's got to be able to make that pass.
And I came off the last turn. I just wanted to pass the next guy in front of me. We passed Gilles. I didn't know I'd won. The guys told me over the radio. What a great feeling.
It'll be a drag race on the drag strip here at Portland. Off the corner they come.
Oh, it's going to be a photo finish.
Blundell. Here comes Boisel in third. To the line they come. International Raceway, Portland, Oregon, on the Columbia River Gorge. A board surfing mecca surrounded with the beauty of nature, and that includes majestic Mount Hood. Looking down on PIR, site of round 9 of the Kart FedEx Champion Series for 1998, the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200. Welcome, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha. There is Paul Tracy, who has been quite the story this weekend. He came in on probation after the events of our most recent round 2 weeks ago in Detroit. He wound up being suspended and fined from the second round of qualifying. He starts well back in the field. Gary Gerald picks up that story.
Yes, indeed, Bob. He was 12th after preliminary qualifying, ended up 20th on the grid. Barry Green is the team owner. Barry, the good news, of course, Dario Franchitti, your other driver, in the front row, but with Paul back, and way back in this pack, how concerned are you over maybe his frustration or anger impacting his performance?
Well, you know, we are concerned, Gary. You know, with what's compounded over the last couple of races, the car's a lot faster than our grid position shows, and he's got a tough job, but he's got to be himself. He can't drive defensively. He's got to be aggressive. That's Paul's style. And I'm looking for him to have a good race. Portland's a great track. There's a few areas to pass, you know, good opportunity areas to pass for the drivers. So I think he'll do a great job.
All right, we'll watch closely with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob Varsha.
All right, thanks, Gary Gerald. The cars are on the track, warming tires and engines. Here's a look at the starting grid for the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200. Brian HERTA, his 5th career pole. Father Tom is here this weekend. Dario Franchitti's father George is here as well to watch his son race. Row 2, Scott Pruitt, whose father Bob is here. Jimmy Vassar's father Jim is here as well. Alex Zanardi, the current points leader, and Adrian Fernandez will be on row 3. Row 4, Christian Fittipaldi and Bobby Rahal in his last visit as a driver. Row 5, Gilles DeFerrin and Michael Andretti. Father Mario here, of course. Row 6 will be Patrick Carpentier and Tony Kanaan in the fight for Rookie of the Year. Row 7, Michel Jourdain Jr., whose father Michel Sr. is here. Greg Moore's father Rick is here as well. Mauricio GUGELMIN and Mark Blundell, last year's winner on row 8. Andre Ribeiro and Al Unser Jr., the Penske teammates on row 9. Row 10, HELIO Castro Neves and Paul Tracy. On row 11, Robbie Gordon, whose father Bob is here, and Max Pappas. On row 12, Richie HEARN, whose father Richard is here, and J.J. Leto will be next to him. Row 13 will be German Arndt Meyer, and P.J. Jones. Marnelli is here as well. On row 14, Alex Barron, whose dad is here, and Dennis Vitolo. It's a big Father's Day weekend here at Portland. Here's Jack Arute.
Let's continue on the Tracy story. Kart chairman Andrew Craig, if it occurs again with Paul Tracy, what's the next step?
Well, it depends what happens. I mean, Paul is a sensible individual. He's a professional race car driver. I hope that Paul's got the message. I'm sure he has, and he's going to drive safely and competitively.
Let's get a driver's perspective from Danny Sullivan and Tommy Kendall.
Tommy, the drivers have been screaming for years in this series to get stricter on dangerous driving. They want more discipline. Finally, CART has stepped up and said, hey, we're penalizing you. They put Paul Tracy on suspension, probation as well, all of this. Now the big question is, can they stay consistent?
Well, consistency is the key for credibility, and CART's credibility is a little bit at issue. More important to me is what message are they sending to the drivers? Are you just trying to knock out the cheap stuff like Paul's punt in Detroit, or do you want them to stop racing? Hopefully they don't get that message. If they do, you might as well hand out lace panties at the drivers' meeting.
I raced with Paul Tracy a lot of times. He knows how to drive one way. That is flat out, take no prisoners. He's going to go for any gap out there. Barry Green has told him, you can go for it. The question is, what's going to happen today with Paul?
You don't have to tell me about Paul Tracy. For 2 years, I thought that black mark on the front of his Penske was part of the paint job. Turns out it was a tire mark. But the thing is, when you're in that many incidents, people are always watching you. And when you do something, even when it's an accident like Friday, the hammer comes down.
Well, we're going to find out in just a few minutes. Bob?
All right, thank you, Danny, Gary, and Jack. There you see Paul Tracy starting deep in the field. He was allowed to take part in yesterday's morning practice, and he was one of the quickest cars out there. Here is our race analysis. 1.967-mile permanent road circuit. The first time the Kart FedEx Championship has been on a permanent natural terrain circuit this year. Our race distance, 98 laps. There is festival curves. That is the key focus for all of the drivers. They come down this long, long straightaway to the middle of your screen. Heavy braking, hard right-hand turn, change of racing surface from asphalt to concrete, lots of slipping and sliding. And of course, there is a gravel trap in the middle of the festival curves that will claim the unwary. Now the field will be forming up. We anticipate the green flag this time by. There is BRYAN, who picked up $10,000 from Marlboro for taking the pole. If he can win this race from pole, he'll win $240,000 in Marlboro rollover pole bonus money, or in English, $250,000 in bonuses, added to the $100,000 that comes to the race winner, a potential $350,000 payday. Right now, Danny Sullivan, the moment of truth as they bring him off the corner.
That's right. He's got to bring him off here smooth, get a good run in there. Think how much trouble you had saying that. Think what he's thinking about winning that $250,000.
I'd rather not think about it. It's time to go racing. HERTA, a bit of a sloppy start.
Very sloppy, but Dario Franchitti, they all slotted into place. He's going to take a look. BRYAN HERTA says no.
Christian Fittipaldi took a look at the inside. Oh, one of the players' cars bounds across the concrete. Christian Fittipaldi on the left, and Paul Tracy in the green and white cool car also nosed into this schmozzle. We have a yellow flag immediately. Max Pappas goes to the end of the chicane. There is Robbie Gordon. To the left, we saw the defending race champion, Mark Blundell. Oh, this is Michael Andretti is also in the middle of all of this. Let's listen in.
It's all suspension on it. I think so. I got hit. I don't know how bad it is. I got to get a push start.
That was Lon Bromley from the kart safety team. There you see Greg Moore, second in points in the blue and white players outfit, Christian Fittipaldi in the yellow helmet, and Paul Tracy walking off to the left. At least three top cars out in this first turn incident.
Okay, now you see in the back here, look at Greg Moore. He went sideways trying to get around a slower car. He's gathered it back up, but Christian Fittipaldi right there had to slow. They all come down and bunch up. Now watch Greg Moore in there. He goes across the grass, across a car. Bobby Rahal right in there. Michael Andretti there. And Christian Fittipaldi. Everybody has to take avoiding action. Got cars off in here, off in the sand trap. Look at that.
6 cars involved.
Somebody. Okay, here we are at real speed. Look up here. Greg Moore dove out there. Christian locks up. Greg goes right across the curb. I don't have any idea what he was doing there, but that was very much his fault. Poor Paul Tracy right there. Comes in, has nowhere to go, runs right into the back of Greg Moore.
From Michael Andretti's onboard camera.
Okay, they're coming out of the last turn, down the straightaway. Accelerating up through the gears. Everybody's in line. Now they're coming down, everybody's easing over to the right. You see Bobby Rahal go to the right. Michael around the outside. Christian locks up over there. And all of a sudden he gets hit. Michael gets hit.
By Christian.
That was Christian Fittipaldi's back end that went into Michael Andretti.
On board with Bobby Rahal.
Christian right there, locks up. He's going through. Look at Greg Moore just launching in over the curb, right into the back of the car. I don't have any idea what he was doing.
Greg Moore nearly took out his teammate, Patrick Carpentier, as he came flying down to that first turn, goes straight across the corner. We have a yellow flag. We'll take a break and return to Portland. Welcome back to Portland International Raceway. To the right of your screen, the Festival Curves. We've been saying all weekend that they are the critical portions of this racetrack. Our first Toyota spotlight of the day is a no-brainer, the Festival Curves. Back in 1993, Nigel Mansell slid off in the Festival Curves. Emerson Fittipaldi came on to win. Michael Andretti and Jimmy Vasser knocked each other out back in 1994. In 1995, Andretti again with Bryan HERTA. Michael finished fourth, HERTA was out. In 1997, on the exit of the curves in the wet, Al Unser Jr. and Dario Franchitti both left the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200. And moments ago, a new page in the legend of the Festival Curves. With 6 cars involved, Greg Moore is out of the race. That's our first Toyota spotlight of the day. Let's go down to Gary Gerald.
Greg Moore has made that walk back. What in the world happened? Do you have any idea?
I mean, it was just a huge bottleneck down there, and I'd made a really good start. I'd passed a couple of guys in the start, and I went right down to the inside, and I got down there, and it was just amazing how slow it was down there, and just you know, kind of a mistake on my part, just misjudging how slow the start would be down in there, and you know, just you know, I feel bad for Christian. He was going to have a good race, and for Paul, but you know, my mistake.
How concerned were you going in that something like this might happen?
I was a little bit concerned about it, but you know, I had such a good start, and you know, it looked like it was nice, and you know, it wasn't packed up. It looked like everyone was kind of apart from each other, and we went breaking into there. And next thing I knew, I mean, I didn't go in as hard as I've been going in all weekend, and it's just everyone had just completely stopped. So it was just one of those things. It's you know, I feel bad.
Greg, you say you feel bad for Christian and for Paul. Do you go talk to them about this scenario?
Yeah, I already talked to Paul and Christian on, you know, on our walk back, and you know, I told Christian, hey, I'm sorry I made a mistake, and Paul said, you know, you okay? And I said, yeah, it's just one good thing.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Gary Gerald. There is Michael Andretti, who has been in and out of the pits once his engine was fired back there in the Festival Curves.
Well, it looked like that right front tire of Michael's took a pretty good wallop by his teammate Christian Fittipaldi's rear, so we're not sure if he's got much damage there.
Well, Danny, that was the problem why they weren't sure whether he could get a flat toe in or not, was because that tire had gone flat. And they actually made the call to go in and tear the tire up and get back into the pits.
With 95 laps remaining, having completed 4 laps, we are green once again, and Bryan HERTA leads Dario Franchitti into the Festival Curves. The order is HERTA, Franchitti, Scott Pruett, Alex Zanardi, Jimmy Vasser, Adrian Fernandez, Bobby Rahal, Gilles de Ferran, Tony Kanaan, and Richie Hearn, the top 10.
Gilles de Ferran actually made a pass going into Festival Curve there and just nipped underneath Bobby Rahal, and he's moved up 1 spot.
Ferran up into the 7th spot, Rahal down to 8th. As you watch Bryan HERTA, who has come so close to his first CART FedEx Championship victory so many times, only to have it snatched away in the closing moments. Most recently, perhaps, Long Beach, California, where he was passed by Alex Zanardi with just a couple of laps to go.
The beneficiaries of all that fracas on the first lap are obviously the guys out there running, because they got 4 more laps under yellow so they can conserve some more fuel. We were told earlier by Derek Walker that they needed to get about 6 laps under yellow to really help them in their fuel windows. Everybody out there on the track will benefit from those 4 laps.
Franchitti takes a look down the inside of HERTA. There is Dario Franchitti in his sophomore season in the CART FedEx Championship. Father George is here, as he is for most rounds of the championship, even though he has to fly here all the way from Scotland to watch his son race.
One of the things the drivers are doing right now, the cars are full of fuel, so that's quite a bit more weight in there. The tires are new. They do not want to be sliding the cars around right now. The track's very hot, very slippery. If they use up the tires right now, they'll really pay the price as the fuel load goes light.
Let's hear from another of the drivers knocked out in that first turn accident. Back to Gary Gerald.
Christian Fittipaldi back in the Newman Haas pits. Greg Moore told us that he already had a chance to apologize to you, but I'm sure apologies pretty hollow right now.
Well, it's easy to say sorry afterwards. I just think that Greg was maybe a little bit over-optimistic. Like, he was starting 14th. I was in 7th. I didn't lose any position at the start. I definitely don't see how a guy can go from 14th to 7th on the 4th corner. And apparently of what they told me, the accident had developed already, and he only ended up landing on top of me. So go to the next race, there's not a lot to say. I'm very disappointed because we're going through a very difficult period at the moment. I can't even finish the races. been very hard. We're competitive, but I can't do the races. I don't know what happens.
And this was after a crew had to scramble to change an engine following this morning's session. Bob?
All right, thank you, Gary. Christian Fittipaldi's 4th DNF did not finish of this season. Still in the first half of 1998. Let's hope things improve for him, the Newman Haas team. Michael Andretti is back out there, but Andretti running well back in the field, currently shown 2 laps down in 25th. Brian HERTA's idol is his dad. Well, shoot, whose isn't?
Well, here you have HERTA starting to stretch away here, and the practice laps, that's J.J. Leto. I don't know where he's pulled off on the back straightaway with some telltale smoke, steam coming out.
Not a good sign for the Finnish rookie.
No, and we know that J.J. Leto is a very talented driver, but they need to give him a car and a steady run for him to show his stuff over there at Hogan Racing.
Much like Christian Fittipaldi just said, we've got to get out there and start finishing races in order to show what we can do. For Greg Moore, his first DNF of the season is also his first finish out of the points. He comes in 17 points behind Alex Zanardi for the PPG Cup lead. Meanwhile, a couple of drivers on the track are moving up. Richie HEARN started 23rd in the Budweiser car for Della Penna Racing. He is now up to 10th. And Gilles de Ferran has moved up from 9th to 7th.
Back to the thought on HERTA. All weekend he's been very, very smooth and extremely fast, been able to not just running one quick lap, but he just strings of quick laps. And so I think his style is a little bit more where it takes him a little while to get into his rhythm. All his races, like at Laguna when he ran away a few years back, he really takes him a while to get going, but when his car is hooked up, he just checks out.
Tommy, I don't know what it was like in a Trans Am car around here, but in an Indy car, you've really got to nurse these tires on a hot day like today. We got track temperatures right now of 134 degrees. They've really got to take care of it, so he's got to be steady and smooth and try to gently stretch it out.
This isn't a surprise, but talking to Jimmy Vasser, he said they were getting some graining on the left rear. The only cars not graining are the Rahal cars and the Cole cars, both cars which did the Firestone tire testing here at the track.
If you're not familiar with the way the tire testing takes place, each company, Goodyear and Firestone, have their contracted teams, and they will select which teams come to test to prepare tires for which race. And as Tommy just mentioned, sometimes that can be an advantage. Down to Jackaroo.
Well, Paul Tracy, this was precisely what you alluded to and what you were worried about after your penalty.
Well, these are the things that you get caught up in when you have to start at the back, but, you know, I really couldn't see what happened. All I know is when I got to the first corner, there was cars in the air, and I basically got swept out by the other cars, and was committed to where I was at on the track, and you know, there was an accident right there, so really had nowhere to go. So it's disappointing for the field team because we had a great car today and had a great car all weekend. It's shown in how Dario's running. We haven't had a chance to run, so you know, hopefully he can go down the court for us and get a win.
Let's go back for a moment to the letter that you sent out to the kart community and brought up this point about an even-handed distribution of rules and regulations. What do you think about this situation?
Well, like I said, I didn't see what happened, but it's obviously somebody's fault because there was cars in the air, so I'd like to see if something gets done about it. I'd be frustrated.
Bob?
All right, thanks, Jack. 5th DNF of the year for Paul Tracy.
But they're all due to contact that he's had with other cars.
Here's a look at the top 12. We'll be back. Plenty of racing to go here at Portland.
Back at Portland, and the wholesale accidents continue here in the festival corner. You see Adrian Fernandez with his left front wheel. Obviously, the suspension's broken on the inside of the second part of the festival corners. Here's a replay, Danny.
Yes, you got Jimmy Vasser right there. Adrian Fernandez in the green and red. Dives down the inside, perfect place to pass, goes in. Jimmy's not giving up any ground. Takes his line, bam. Contact, look at the front tire on Adrian, he's out. Jimmy backs off there. Don't know if there's any damage to Jimmy Vasser's car. That is something that these two guys cannot afford to be doing. They're both in the hunt for the championship. They both got great finishing records. They can't make a mistake or a pass at this stage of the race like that. That's Adrian's 3rd DNF this season.
There is Jimmy Vasser back out there once again. Adrian Fernandez came into this round of the championship in 4th place. Jimmy Vasser in 3rd. Vasser is still alive. Fernandez's day is over. For Jimmy Vasser, his racing career began in something with a little less horsepower than the car he drives now. He worked with his dad to support his racing career. Back at Portland International Raceway under our second full course caution of the day, Gary Gerould.
And as a result of the latest incident involving Jimmy Vasser and Adrian Fernandez, no go for Fernandez, his day done. Vasser did get restarted, came to the pits, got fuel and tires, and also a full turn of the front wing. We're going green.
85 laps to go, and BRYAN HERTA gets a look from Dario Franchitti. Robbie Gordon off in turn 9, leading on to the start-finish straightaway. And it appears he has lost the fire in that Toyota. Gordon was running 21st as he faced the green flag. Meanwhile, the race goes on. No sign of a yellow flag. It'll be a local yellow in that corner, I believe, until they get... No, we will get a full course caution, our third of the day. And we may be on a record pace here at Portland. Danny, we've been saying all weekend, the drivers are complaining the track is slippery.
Very slippery, but we also saw this happen before the restart, so Robbie was probably trying to stand on the gas, got it a little sideways, and spun out there.
The record for the most cautions in this race was set in last year's rain-shortened affair. 7 caution flags for 24 laps. Here comes the race leader into the pits. The strategies are already being sorted through. Gary Gerould awaits BRYAN HERTA.
Indeed, this determines now that at least for HERTA, and it looks like his teammate Bobby Rahal will follow him in, this will become a 3-stop race. So BRYAN HERTA hits the marks, and the crew goes to work. Now he's going to lose track position, but it comes under yellow. Then he'll be trying to gain it back. Got him rolling in 10.6 seconds. Very efficient stop.
BRYAN HERTA did something really smart there. Even though the yellows came out, you saw Dario Franchitti back off. HERTA kept forcing the pace, had almost a straightaway lead when he pitted, and you see he got back in the queue before the end of the line. That pick made him 4 spots on the track.
He may have picked up 4 spots on the track, but I'm not sure I understand that strategy. I know that they've got all these yellow laps and they get inside the window, but he's only can put so much fuel in that car, and he's got to start working his way through that field. Dario Franchitti can pull a big lead out right now. We've seen a lot of yellows. I'm not sure that's the best strategy, but as usual, we'll have to wait and see till the last lap.
Dario Franchitti assumes the lead, the third race lead of the year for the young Scotsman. He also led at Long Beach and Rio de Janeiro. Also pitting during this yellow, Al Unser Jr., Jimmy Vasser, Mauricio Gugelmin, Mark Blundell, Patrick Carpentier, P.J. Jones, and Alex Barron.
And one Alex that didn't pit was Alex Zanardi, but he is reporting to his team, Bob, that the car is becoming more and more imbalanced, which means he's got a budding handling problem of some kind.
And of course, we saw him, Gary, spin a couple of times in practice, and we've been reported that the Firestones tend to go off, that the back tires go off, so if he's got a handling problem, expect that car to go loose.
We restart once again.
And Gilles LeFerrin in the white and blue car right there on your screen behind Alex Zanardi is all over him. He's obviously got a handling problem.
The order is Franchitti. Scott Pruitt moves up to second. Alex Zanardi to third. You ride on the nose of Gilles LeFerrin's Valvoline Cummins Reynard Honda.
And Bob, one of the things that the team has talked to Scott Pruitt in second was all about the festival curves. Earlier today, before they went out to the final practice session, they went over all the great moves that have been made in the festival curves. From Al Unser Jr.'s move with Jacques Villeneuve, all the way down the line. And they said, remember, that's where you can win and also where you can lose this race.
Approaching 190 miles an hour on the backstretch before a touch on the brakes. Through the S's and around this long right-hander at turn 9. No time for food right now.
Gilles LeFerrin, of course, told us earlier that with the Goodyear tires, he's tending to have the front tires go off. So he's got to be really careful how he uses those front tires. Can't get too close behind the cars because it takes away some downforce. You get more slip, it'll use up the tire more.
There you see Richie Hearn, who started well back in the field. He is currently in 7th place. You see his march through the field. Courtesy of our Omega timing and scoring system from 23rd all the way up to 7th. He's done that a couple of times this year at Rio de Janeiro this year. He went from the mid-20s up into the top 6 or 7. He also did it on the Gateway Oval this year. at Milwaukee.
Also at Detroit, you saw he had some trouble, but he was the quickest car on the lap on the course in the middle stages of the race. And he made a pit stop there, but he was able to get back up, ended up dropping out of the race. But they are finally getting a handle on this Swift chassis. They got it later than everybody else. Didn't get it last year. They're the only Swift on Firestone tires, but he is turning into a bona fide contender.
They are the only example in the field of a Swift chassis with a Ford engine and Firestone tires. Let's go down to the pit lane.
Adrian Fernandez, tell us about the incident with Jimmy Vasser.
Well, you know, a few times I was trying to pass him and I wasn't close enough, and this time I thought I was close enough, and I just dived in the inside, you know, I was already committed, and you know, he didn't open the gap, and we just, you know, just have an incident. It's one of those goals.
We've seen an unusual amount of contact early in this race. Do you think we're going to see this all afternoon?
Well, maybe it's a coincidence. You know, here my car was really working well, and I was just a little bit faster than Vasser, and I was just trying to not lose the gap between him and the next group of guys. So, you know, I just tried my pass, it didn't work, and, you know, just from my side, I thought I had it, but that's, you know, I did my best trying to pass him there.
All right, thanks, Gary. Danny Sullivan, you and I walked the pit lane this morning, talked to a few car owners. They emphasized how important early racetrack position is. We might be tempted to say these guys are being awfully impatient, but in fact, they need to stay up front and position themselves up there very early on.
Correct. If they get too big of a gap to the lead car, then they lose a lot of position. The guy can make a stop and maybe not even lose that stop, that position late in the race. Also, what it does, the biggest factor is if he gets way out there, say a leader gets way out, he can back off, conserve fuel, short shift, and you take the pressure off of it.
Robbie Gordon climbs from his machine after that off and on. Driving for Arciero Wells Racing. Things have been going well for Precision Preparation. Cal Wells' driver, Ivan the Iron Man Stewart, won the Baja 500 recently. Let's get back down to the pits now.
I've got a question for Danny Sullivan. This is Jack Arute. You know, we're watching the temperatures down here, Danny. Outside temperature, what they call ambient, is about 85 degrees. Now, that's at least 10 degrees hotter than we've had all during practice and qualifying. But here's the real clincher. 135 degrees is the track temperature. Now, I know the track will begin to come apart, according to asphalt experts, if it gets to 145 plus. But what about the handling characteristics of these cars? They're set up during colder temperatures. Could that account for some of the problems today?
Jack, you're absolutely right. You've set up for colder temperatures, but the biggest factor is, of course, for the tire manufacturers. They tested those tires under cooler temperatures and picked their tires. They have to guess somewhat on the temperature that is going to be come race time. We've had a cool weekend, now we have a hot day, and as that temperature goes up, the track will get slipperier. We've had a lot of support races through the weekend. This place is going to get really greasy.
Right now, the track temperature is somewhere in the mid-130-degree range. There are the top 12 with 19 complete. The pit window opens about lap 28. Richie Hearn began his racing career as a young man, winning as young as age 8 with the guidance of his father, Richard. In fact, he even raced karts against Alex Barron, another driver in the Kart FedEx Championship Series. Welcome back to Portland. Bob Varsha, Danny Sullivan with you. Here's a look at the top 6 as they stand right now. With 21 laps complete, you ride with Richie Hearn, who has come all the way from 23rd starting spot. He is now 7th. There's Richie. New livery for the Budweiser car. Louis the Lizard is on the car. There's Arndt Meyer, the young German, in the one and only Lola chassis in the field. The sponsorship from a German brewery, and he too has come forward. Meyer currently runs in 8th spot. He has not pitted. Lighting up those good years as he tries to slow for the festival curves, and you can see how you lose momentum when you do that.
And the biggest problem is, of course, you flat spot those tires. You've got to live with those tires all the way till your next pit stop.
To the pit lane and Jack Arute.
Well, guys, one driver that won't have to worry about flat spotting tires is Robbie Gordon. Another DNF, the second, I understand, in 4. But this time it was fuel pressure problem.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I came off last corner, went to get back on the gas, and it didn't have anything. And I said, hey, I thought maybe I broke a throttle linkage or something. They said, no, we lost fuel pressure. So, it's unfortunate because the reliability on the Toyota has been pretty good. The only other incident was myself making a mistake at Milwaukee. So, the guys at Toyota are doing a good job. we've closed the gap up quite a bit. You know, we qualified about 1 second off, so we're pretty happy with that.
Robbie, you're always one of the guys that sets really great goals for oneself. When will Robbie Gordon win a race with Toyota power?
I believe by the end of the year we'll be finishing on the podium, and anything can happen when you finish on the podium. You can be at the right place at the right time. Unfortunate today, you know, we wanted to run all day and learn more about the engine, learn more about the chassis, because my engineer Ken Anderson and myself, you know, it's the first time we've been back together in a few years. So, you know, I believe there's a lot of improvements coming in the future.
And guys, the reference to Kenny Anderson, don't forget all of the wins that Robbie Gordon had. Well, they started with Kenny Anderson. They've got good communication.
I mentioned things have been going well, winning the Baja 500 for PPI in Cal Wells operation. Obviously, things not going well for Robbie Gordon today, but he remains optimistic about his chances with that constantly improving Toyota turbocharged engine. Watching Alex Zanardi, I wonder what might be going through his mind right now. He runs in third place in the race, but he came into this race with a 17-point lead in the championship over Greg Moore, who is out of the race. Let's check the speeds at the line. Franchitti the quickest, Zanardi second fastest that last lap, and Gilles de Ferran, currently in fourth place, was third fastest.
Bob, I would imagine what's going through his mind is that my closest competitor is out. I can score some points here. He's complaining that the car's not handling very well. It looks like it's doing a pretty good job right there in third, but he's a great driver, so he's holding on, trying to manage it, wants to score points at the end.
You see the top five all running that last lap at 114 miles an hour plus. That's only about 7 miles an hour off of Bryan Herta's pole winning speed of 121 miles an hour plus. So despite the slippery racetrack, they are still getting around in a hurry. Fuel loads are lightening, the tires are going away here on the 25th lap.
You heard the point when Bryan Herta stopped there, he would be mired in traffic, and he is stuck behind the two Penske cars. Now you saw on that at the line, not running any quicker than the leaders. And here's Herta, has not been able to get by these two cars, been tailing them for about 4 or 5 laps. Whether that's because he just can't get by and he's faster, or if somehow he's settled in and he doesn't have any more left.
Bryan Herta runs immediately behind Al Unser Jr., who is shown in 11th place, ahead of Little Al. The top 10 cars have not yet pitted. Squish under acceleration there from Al Unser Jr.'s Penske Mercedes. There's Michael Andretti. Let's ride with him for a moment. Andretti currently shown in 22nd place, 2 laps down after that first corner guffaffle that left Andretti without an operating engine in the first turn. Whoops. It's okay, Michael. Give all the speed you've got today.
I want to know how many times he got cited. Stopped 4 times. Cited with that name.
I guess it depends on where. Can you imagine the police officer? Hey, who do you think you are, Mario Andretti?
And talk about not a lot of fun. I mean, Michael's running around, he's 2 laps down, but he's been stuck with this group for quite a while, so the car's obviously not handling too badly. But in terms of your motivation, it's hard to get too fired up knowing that your best finish is going to be about an 18.
Have to be up in the top 12 to score any championship points, and those points have been hard to come by for Michael, despite the fact that he opened the season with a victory on the oval at Homestead, Florida.
One thing this battle shows me is that we have the Goodyear cars, the Penske cars are on Goodyears, Michael's on Goodyears, Herta, the pole sitter, who was so impressive streaking away early, is on Firestones. Some of the advantage the Firestone enjoyed in qualifying might have gone away. I don't know about longevity, but in terms of just pure race pace, they're all about the even same speed.
Tommy, what it also says to me is it shows how competitive this field is, and that the pole sitter isn't just, you know, running away from these two guys and passing me. He's struggling to stay right there with them.
From our Honda Helicam shot, you can see how the track narrows down for those S's and that long right-hander at turn 9, and then widens out onto this, the drag strip that makes up the start-finish straightaway here at Portland. On the final lap of this race 1 year ago, Mark Blundell, Gilles de Ferran, and Raoul Boisel, who is not in the series this year, came down and finished just a couple of hundredths of a second apart. Closest finish in Champ Car history. Will we have one of those today? Perhaps a first-time winner like Blundell was a year ago? We are about 71 laps away from finding out. Jackaroo.
We talked about J.J. Lehto, and we confirmed with your car owner, Carl Hogan, that it was a Mercedes motor that had expired, but I want to talk to you about the escalating heat. I asked Danny Sullivan if maybe that is accounting for some of the slipping and sliding we're seeing out there. Your perspective, having gotten out of the cockpit.
Well, I mean, it's just the heat wasn't really affecting. I couldn't really feel that much here because the tires were still really cold and the temperature wasn't up and the pressure wasn't up. So it felt pretty much the same than in the morning, everything. So there was no real problem. I think that for sure it's going to get more slippery, you know, during the race, but I have no experience from here, so I don't know.
JJ, when does this team come together and sit back and say, look, we've got to reassess our situation? A lot of promise, but so far, nothing delivered.
Yeah, I mean, we have been very unlucky all season so far, and we have been just trying to work very hard, but, you know, it's just the bad luck is on our side at the moment. There's going to be a lot of changes, you know, in a short time, and we are just working very hard. We are starting to test now, and we are just trying to get things together, you know. It's just the things hasn't been together in the last couple of races, and it's just a shame, you know, because the team is very good. The guys has been working very hard, and, you know, if there's no results, everybody feels bad. And,
well, maybe the key, what we heard, guys, is the fact that he said there aren't changes on the horizon.
All right, thanks, Jack. Scott Pruett. Jimmy Vasser close behind. Well, we will not have a defending champion here at the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200. There's Mark Blundell with helmet off talking to a corner worker. The kart safety team arrives to pull his car out of the way. His race is run. There's the top six. We'll take a break. About a third of the way through the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200. Stay with us. Dario Speedwagon to his team. Most successful Scottish-born driver ever in the Kart FedEx Championship Series. Right now, there is Dario Franchitti leading the race. Third race lead he has held this year. Just one of a number of drivers capable of winning his first career Kart FedEx Championship race here today. The order is Franchitti, Scott Pruett. A moment ago, I said it was Jimmy Vasser behind Pruett. Actually, it's Alex Zanardi third on the racetrack. Gilles de Ferran fourth. Tony Kanaan fifth. The rookie driving for Steve and Christine Horn is in fifth spot, followed by Bobby Rahal, Richie Hearn, Arndt Meyer, HELIO Castro Neves, who is battling Kanaan for the Jim Truman Rookie of the Year trophy. And then Andre Ribeiro. The top 10 cars still have yet to pit. Al Unser Jr. is 11th. He has pitted once. Then BRYAN HERTA 12th. Max Pappas is 13th. Jimmy Vasser 14th, followed by Mauricio Gugelmin, Patrick Carpentier, and P.J. Jones. Alex Barron. Those cars all on the lead lap. Then Dennis Vitolo, one lap down, as is Michel Jourdain Jr. Michael Andretti also a couple of laps down. Those are the cars still running in the race. 21 of the 28 starters still circulating the racetrack. Those who are out, Mark Blundell, the defending race champion, Robbie Gordon, Adrian Fernandez, J.J. Leto, Christian Fittipaldi, Greg Moore, and Paul Tracy. We ride with Alex Zanardi. Now the first round of scheduled stops is coming up. Let's talk strategy. Let's get down to Gary Gerald.
And the Scott Pruett, Pat Patrick pit, they're anticipating showing him the inside next time he passes by on the racetrack. So a little over 2 miles, we expect Pruett to be coming in for the stop. We also anticipate they may make a change on the handling characteristic, but a little more front wing into his car when he checks in. Jack?
Well, Gary, that's precisely the same situation, not chassis adjustments, but it's almost time for the pits for the Scotsman Dario Franchitti. He intends to stay out for another 4 laps, however. They don't anticipate making any changes. In fact, they feel that they like the car just the way it is. All they want to do is take on fuel. Bob?
Bob, one of the things I'm seeing right here is another weapon in the arsenal for Zanardi. He's closing in on Scott Pruett. He's going to stay right by him, come into the pit, and hope that his crew can get him out in front of Scott Pruett.
And Zanardi is waiting a lap longer, we believe, than Pruett, so that gives him a slight advantage in terms of that fuel that has become precious in many events already this year.
And that's what worked for Alex Zanardi at Detroit 2 weeks ago. He stayed out 2 laps longer than the man he was fighting there, Greg Moore. Drove blinding laps, came in and out. The crew got him out in great shape, and he was able to maintain track position ahead of Moore. Max Pappas just pitted from from up in the top 10. He is down in 18th place right now, back on the racetrack.
You're exactly right. We're starting to see a trend here with the Honda guys going longer. Scott Pruett peels off, and both Franchitti and Zanardi with the Honda are able to go considerably longer.
Scott Pruett heads for the pit lane in the Visteon car. It has been rough going for Pruett.
We're watching down here from the wall, along with the car official, Billy Camphausen. Wing changes, both sides, look like about a half turn. 10.8, great stop for Scott Pruett.
13th in the championship, coming into this 9th of 19 rounds in the series. Pruett pitted from 2nd place. Beautiful paint job on that car. Visteon, a big aftermarket automotive systems supplier, 2nd largest in the world. There's Dario Franchitti, still awaiting his first stop. Arndt in the Lola. Franchitti.
Zanardi has just gone into the pits.
There is Alex Zanardi, the point leader. Watch the target. Chip Ganassi Racing Team go to work.
You mentioned, Bob, they've won races already this year with their expedient pit work. They're trying to duplicate the effort. Pruett had a 10.8 second stop, which was terrific. 12.3, just a little bit slower. Time from wheel stop to wheel start.
What you would expect to see is a heavy in front of Pruett, but he has that slow, cold tire lap in front of him, but he has the position, so he can be a little defensive, get up to speed a little before Scott can get by him.
And as that just tells us, it's not just the pit work, it's the in lap and how fast you carry your speed into the pits and out.
Now here comes the race leader. Dario Franchitti is in. HELIO Castro Neves and Gilles de Ferran have also made their pit stops and returned to the racetrack.
And Bob, they anticipate making no changes to Dario Franchitti's car with the exception of adjusting the tire pressure. Now by adjusting tire pressure, you can make minor adjustments. Taking on the full load of fuel, waiting. There's a longer fuel hose being used these days. In 13.3, he stalls it. He stalls the engine. They're pushing up. He throws it in gear. But Bridges' time is ticking away. It still is not fired. Oh my goodness. He has gone down 4 stalls. And now it finally comes to life and stalls again. Oh, the frustration for this team. They're going to have to back it all the way back to his pit stop. Now the key is, gentlemen, to maintain your calm. This is a road course. He's going to lose time, but they have to bring it back as quickly as possible and get the external air starter connected to the rear of the car. Franchitti, you can see in his eyes just sheer confusion. Not quite sure that's what happened. You can hear from the way he exits the pits with the button down that he's not at all happy.
That choppy sound from the engine comes from the pit lane speed limiter. As always, a 60-mile-an-hour pit lane speed limit, and the pictures of the crew say it all.
That's the most frustrating thing, but the reason for the folks at home that they had to pull him back to the pits, you can only push him so far down the pits, and then you've got to pull him back in. You cannot go that far.
Andre Ribeiro briefly took the race lead in the Penske Mercedes. Boy, those have been few and far between for Roger Penske's team. Assuming the lead, however, Ribeiro's teammate, Al Unser Jr. And Unser Jr. has already pitted once, so he can stay out there a bit. Bryan Herta runs 2nd, Alex Zanardi now 3rd, Scott Pruett 4th, Gilles de Ferran 5th, Jimmy Vasser 6th, Mauricio Gugelmin up to 7th, Patrick Carpentier, Greg Moore's teammate, is 8th, Tony Kanaan 9th, and Andre Ribeiro returns to the racetrack in 10th place. On board with Alex Zanardi. We'll be back with more from the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200. Here at home with our second tournament spotlight of the day is a Father's Day special. Fathers and sons from Dan Gurney's All-American Racers. Alex Barron, just in his 3rd year of racing cars, was a karting superstar with the help of his father, Richard. Even raced against fellow kart star Richie Hearn. In his younger days, P.J. Jones, of course, needs no introduction. The son of the great Parnelli Jones, an Indianapolis 500 winner, star in sedans, chat cars, sprint cars. His brother Paige on the left, still recovering from a racing-related accident. Parnelli Jones has been there with his sons all the way along. And there are the 2 All-American Racers Toyota-powered machines. P.J. Jones on the right, Alex Barron on the left. Let's go to Jackaroo.
And Parnelli Jones, you've been watching your son attentively. P.J., how's he doing?
I think he's doing all right. They made a pit stop on the yellow,
14th spot. Now, you're a former car owner with the late Val Militech, but how much has Champ Cars changed, Parnelli, since you were owning them?
Well, obviously, you know, with all the computers and all the engineering and aerodynamics and the entire development, I mean, it's a whole lot different now.
Racing has been both good to you and also less than good to you. The terrible accident with your son Paige, good news that he's well on the road to recovery. Do you have any regrets? Would you rather have seen your sons become bankers?
Oh yeah, I would rather. I tried to get them to do other things, but you know, once they started racing, I mean, you obviously have to help them. And like you said, racing's been very good to me up until the time that Paige got hurt. And hey, we got him back, and you know, he's going to be all right.
Bob, Danny.
All right, thanks very much, Jack. The apple never falls very far from the tree, does it? 13th and 14th, P.J. Jones and Alex Barron. Now here's the Brazilian rookie, Tony Kanaan, who is up into 8th place right now. He's battling for Rookie of the Year honors with his former teammate, HELIO Castro Neves. Castro Neves currently shown back in 18th place. The order is Al Unser Jr., Bryan Herta, Alex Zanardi, Scott Pruett, Joe DeFerrin, Jimmy Vasser, the top 6. Unser Jr. leading for the second time this year. He also led at the inaugural Budweiser 500, the Twin Ring Motegi Circuit in Japan. There you see Kanaan's progress from 12th place starting position all the way up to the 8th spot. Kanaan has proven to be a very good qualifier this year. In fact, he's qualified 3rd on several occasions. But after 3 top 10 performances in his first 3 races, it became hard to find points. He crashed on a couple of occasions, lost the lead for Rookie of the Year to Castro Neves, now trails his former teammate at the Tasman Motorsports Group in the PPG Dayton Indy Light Series by just 2 points. Engineered by Diane Hall, the only female race engineer up and down the pit lane. Let's get down to Gary Gerald.
Well, Gary, let me butt in for 1 second and tell you a report on your current leader, Al Unser Jr. Nobody is euphoric down here in Roger Penske's pit. In fact, they're cautiously optimistic. They know they're going to have to pit in about 3 laps. They say, hey, at least we're being reliable today. But a lot remains to be seen. They are not going to count their chickens anywhere near now. Roger Penske's still looking for his 100th career victory. Bob?
With the laps that Al Unser Jr. has led right now, he has passed Mario Andretti for 4th place in the all-time kart standings for laps led. Mark Mario held 3,064 laps in the lead. Al Unser Jr. has now swept past into sole possession of 4th place.
For those that are wondering if this is just circumstantial, Al Unser Jr. obviously he's out of sequence on pit stops, but he is actually pulling away slightly from both Alex Zanardi and Scott Pruett.
Tommy, of course, his fuel load is lighter right now than those 2 guys, so he's got a little bit of an advantage, but they, of course, have fresher tires on. And he is on Goodyear tires, which haven't been the strongest here at Portland.
Let's check the speeds at the line and see if, in fact, Al Unser Jr. is quicker. Actually, Bryan Herta in 2nd place turned a faster lap that last time around here at Portland. You see the gap back to Alex Zanardi. Now Zanardi with the fastest lap. Scott Pruett, 2nd fastest. Gilles DeFerrin running back in 5th place. Turns a quick one at 114 miles an hour plus. But Zanardi, Pruett, and DeFerrin are running 9 seconds behind Al Unser Jr. and Bryan Herta, the first 2. The Penske team is in the pit lane. We expect Al Unser Jr. will make his 2nd pit stop this next time around. On the backstretch is where the G-forces really build on the drivers. See if Al dives for the pit lane. Yes, he does. Bryan Herta will assume the race lead.
And Roger Penske tells his driver, nice and smooth, be careful with the clutch. You notice that Rick Reinman reached out in the front wing and took a full turn out of the front wing to change the handling characteristics on the Penske. Roger holds him because he wants to make sure he gets a full tank of fuel in 13.7 seconds. And Al Jr. almost pulled out in about 12 that would have ripped the fuel tanks apart.
Jimmy Vasser pulls into the pit lane as Alonso Jr. comes out. Vasser pitting from 8.
Let's not forget that Jimmy Vasser has had a spin and an off with Adrian Fernandez, so he had dropped back quite a bit. Another wing change right there on the left-hand side.
This action taking place on lap 45. 14.5 second stop for Jimmy Vasser, the 96 Series champion. Comes out just behind Mauricio GUGELMIN.
And that was actually for a spot. When they went into the pits, it was 6th and 7th.
Oh, more traffic down there in the festival curve. Dennis Patolo with the blue and aqua-colored cars. Art Meyer and the bright yellow Lola. Those guys were at racing speeds. While Jimmy Vasser comes out on cold tires.
Cold tires and a full load of fuel, so they're going to be slower and a little bit more cautious.
Back to the race leader, BRYAN HERTA. HERTA, born in Michigan, now living in Ohio near the Team Rahal shops. Well, I can imagine he is thinking, I've been so close so many times. What's it going to take? HERTA last pitted on lap 14, so we expect him in.
The difficult part from a driver's point of view is when the guys back in the pits are working out strategies like this. It's very frustrating for you because you don't understand sometimes why they put you way back in the field. They've got a strategy to try to win this race.
BRYAN HERTA heads for Gary Gerould.
We'll keep an eye now with the crew from the edge of the wall riding in here. He was among that group that came in early, so making it a 3-stop race at least for BRYAN HERTA. Changes on the front wing and substantial changes. Under 12 seconds.
Strong pit stop from the Rahal team. BRYAN HERTA emerges behind P.J. Jones. And now our race leader is Alex Zanardi, the only driver to notch 3 victories thus far in the Kart FedEx Championship Series. He is out front, working lap number 48 of 98. We'll be back with more from Portland International Raceway. Alex Zanardi, Jimmy Vasser leads Dario Franchitti. These two running 11th and 12th. Take a look at the top 6.
Jimmy Vasser's obviously feeling very lucky right now after that contact with Adrian Fernandez, and I would imagine that Dario Franchitti is very frustrated at the moment, having such a good car and thrown away that great lead he had.
Yeah, comment on that. It's hard to know what happened in the pit lane. We don't think they ran it out of gas, but there are times when the car will starve for fuel. These cars have got a lot better drivability-wise. You don't see the car stalling very often, but it's hard to say what really went down. If it was just a simple case of stalling it, he's going to relive that one for a long time.
Jimmy Vasser's strength is consistency. He has completed all but 3 racing laps this season out of over 1,320 laps run. Of course, it was last year here at Portland that he had his record run of running at the finish statistics ended. He reached 25, tying the all-time kart record held by Alonso Jr., and it ended here at Portland last year in the festival curves. On the backside of the racetrack, large spectator embankments back there. Beautiful place to watch a race here at Portland.
Of course, these cars look so smooth when you're watching them on TV that they're just driving them around. But I can tell you from inside the cockpit, they're working very hard. This is a very physical racetrack. Very little time to relax. Always working. A lot of G-forces, both decelerating, accelerating, and side load.
Jimmy Vasser's luck has not been great here at Portland. In 1996, he was 13th, the only non-scoring finish of his championship winning year. A DNF in 97, breaking that streak of finishes at 25. And of course, Jimmy would have scored his first ever win back in, I believe it was 1994, when Al Unser Jr. was disqualified. 95, beg your pardon. And Al Unser Jr. was disqualified after technical inspection at the end of the race. The race win was given to Vassar. The Penske team appealed, and later that year, Unser was reinstated as the race winner, and Jimmy was out of his first career win. Of course, in 96, he came back, won 3 of the first 4 races, went on to the championship. And is that Michael Andretti? Yes, it is. A cloud of tire smoke. Looks like, are those stickers on those tires?
Those are not stickers, but he's been off someplace and he picked something up from the hot tires. He's run over something and put it all over the right side tires.
A spin off of turn 9, perhaps, for Michael Andretti?
Oh, and that cost big Mo Gugelmin dearly. He had a nice lead on Jimmy Vassar. Got held up there.
Vassar, passed by Dario Franchitti. Let's take a look and see if we can figure out what happened to Michael Andretti.
Down through the fast corners at the end of the back straight, braking, turns in on the curve, puts on the power, and he just loses it. He put on the power there. That's very unlike Michael. See him get up on the right side, up against that wall. That right side, right front of his tires, or right side of his car is really taking a beating today. One from the wall, one from his teammate.
I don't think he touched the wall with any force, but he was right up against it. Now Michael heads for the pit lane with some badly squared off Goodyears.
We're watching with the crew, and they're checking all the suspension on the right front side. Well, actually, both front sides. Everything to the naked eye appears to be intact and straight. So, of course, a new set of tires goes on along with the fuel. Let's listen in on his radio. Everything quiet on the radio. It was right around a 20-second assessment.
Michael Andretti came in 6th in the PPG Cup Championship standings. 61 points out of first place. He desperately needs point-scoring finishes. Back on board with Alex Zanardi. Alex Zanardi was honored as the Motor Sportsman of the Year here in Portland on this Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200 weekend. He couldn't make the ceremony. Jimmy Vassar stood in and did a terrific job. We'll be back to Portland in a moment.
Back here at Portland, and now I consider the best seat in the house behind the wheels of one of these cars, but short of that, this is about as Gucci as it gets. You can't get any closer to these cars. They pay me for this. I have a tough time believing that, but it's still sinking in. Behind me, coming down the front straightaway, we had a battle that Dario Franchitti, Jimmy Vassar, and Mo Gugelmin. They had a problem. They got separated when Dennis Vitolo got between them, but now it's joined up between both Franchitti and Vassar. Vassar had the contact behind me, but he's been able to stretch away. Obviously no damage to the car. Franchitti, the quickest car earlier, has not been able to do anything with Jimmy.
All right, thank you, Tommy. You can always give the money back or perhaps donate it to charity. There is Dario Franchitti, for whom there was so much promise early in this race before stalling in the pits. There is Jimmy Vassar. He has been bouncing around through the festival chicanes. The running order is Alex Zanardi, the points leader and a 3-time winner this season, as well as the reigning series champion. Scott Pruett in 2nd place, having a good run, but he is almost 8 full seconds behind the race leader Zanardi. Gilles de Ferran runs in 3rd, about a second behind Pruett. Then Tony Kanaan, BRYAN HERTA, Al Unser Jr. in 6th. Bobby Rahal, Andre Ribeiro, Richie Hearn, and Mauricio Gugelmin. Jimmy Vassar is 11th. Dario Franchitti 12th. Art Meyer 13th. Patrick Carpentier 14th. Max Pappas in 15th. Alex Barron 16th. His teammate P.J. Jones follows him in 17th. Followed by HELIO Castro Neves, Dennis Vitolo, Michel Jourdain Jr., and Michael Andretti. Andretti now shown 4 laps down after a day of trials and tribulations, and we still have half of this race to go.
Now Zanardi enjoyed clear racetrack, and he made great use of it. He's put a whole bunch of distance on Scott Pruett, 8 seconds now, but now he's caught up to some competitive Carpentier and Meyer, and he gave it a show, but the last thing you want to do is dive in there and don't leave yourself out. These guys are kind of in their own little battle. He's going to be probably shaking his fist if they don't pull over and obey the blue here after about another half a lap or so.
Well, there's a surprise. Pasta, Alex Zanardi's favorite food, also one of his personal sponsors.
Bob, remember you were talking when Alex Zanardi made that last stop. He got a couple of more laps than Scott Pruett, and that already is starting to look very, very big. Indications are Pruett will pit on lap 6.6, and they're going to have to make absolutely certain that they get every drop of remaining fuel on board. He's going to have to go 32 final laps. That's cutting it very, very thin. Zanardi may have an advantage with those 2 extra laps, depending on each driver's driving style and fuel consumption.
Gilles de Ferret in 3rd place, goes around Max Pappas.
And Max Pappas did a very professional move right there. He wasn't racing for a spot. He knows where Gilles de Ferret is. He backed off a little bit, let him slot in there, and let him keep racing for his position.
And it's not been an easy day for Gilles de Ferret. Just 1 lap ago, guys, he radioed in that he had a quick on and a quick off and a quick back on right in the festival corner coming out of it.
On the backstretch, 190 miles an hour, a few marbles building up offline on the backstretch. Ferret draws away from Pappas. Reynard with Honda power and Goodyear tires racing a Reynard with Toyota power and Firestone rubber. Moving out to the center of the racetrack. Here comes Tony Kanaan and Bryan Herta. This is for 4th place. Herta's down the inside of the braking area for the festival curves, then ducks back behind.
He's letting Tony Kanaan know he's there. He's trying to force him to make a mistake.
I have to say, it's looking like you hit the nail on the head, Danny, when you said, is that the right strategy? Now, Bryan Herta, they did a great execution of that chosen strategy, streaking away to get in the pits, but I'm thinking it's the wrong one, because all these other guys, everybody has one more stop. Bryan Herta has been in traffic all day long, possibly the fastest car, but unless something changes drastically, they both make one more stop, and he never catches up.
Tommy, the longer that Zanardi's out there in the front, the bigger that lead, the less ground he loses when he has to make that pit stop.
You see the speeds. Another 12 miles an hour plus for each driver. Tony Kanaan has an interesting way of learning a new racetrack. He goes out and rollerblades it. He's been rollerblading for some 12 years. He's actually an instructor in his native Brazil. I would imagine he's going to be tuning in the X-Games.
I was hoping he might give me some lessons, something I'm trying to take up.
Oh, yeah, I'll pay to watch that. From Gilles de Ferret's car in 3rd, looking back. Excuse me, from Tony Kanaan's car. Wondered what Bryan Herta was doing back there.
See, Bryan's very close to him in the infield section there in the twisted corners.
Herta closes up on the back. On lap 63.
Bryan Herta needs to stay right there behind him, because if he's going to get an opportunity to pass Tony, this is the spot where he has to do it. Tony Kanaan seems like he's just stretching it out. It's not enough gap for Bryan to make a safe shot underneath him and try to pass him at that particular corner.
This is a good example of Bryan Herta's driving style is such that he's making up his time in the twisty bits. I mean, that's overly simplifying, but he's quicker in the places where it's not doing any good. He's all over with the apex of all these corners, but Tony Kanaan's getting on the corner. So Bryan Herta probably is a quicker lap time, but there's no way he's going to pass him in the twisty.
Bryan Herta hasn't had much luck here at Portland. His last 4 finishes here, 27th, 26th, 26th, and 21st. Alex Zanardi has the lead, having won 3 races, the most recent coming 2 weeks ago in Detroit, Michigan. Alex road circuit or street course races he has been in his brief career. Scott Pruett pits, Jackaroo.
And it's scary as it turns out, Bob, but that's immaterial at this point. The thing to watch here is to make sure they get every available drop. Now, there's a major wing change both sides. Tire change has been completed. Now, that was actually a little quicker than we thought it might be because they had to get every drop. They came in a lap earlier than they had anticipated. He's got to go 33 now to get the distance.
That's a big question whether he can go 33. He's going to have to keep that car lean down. He's not going to be able to get very racy with anybody if he's got the fuel all lean down.
This is a special Father's Day weekend for Scott Pruett and his wife Judy. Had their first child together. Little Taylor Dane has been here this week. She's not here at the race today. Scott and Judy now have 2 children. Happy Father's Day to Scott Pruett. His father is here this weekend watching him race. Pruett currently in 7th spot. On the nose, Gilles de Ferran running in 2nd spot. Word from the pit lane is that he may be stopping for his final time this time around. Working lap number 67 of 98. Race leader Zanardi is 14.5 seconds up the road. Now the race leader Zanardi pits. We'll see if de Ferran follows him in. There is Zanardi. 60 miles an hour doesn't look very fast, does it?
It also doesn't feel very fast when you've been going 180.
This team has been absolutely brilliant this season on their pit stops. They've won races as a result of their virtuosity at their specialty. Rows are way up. Pretty good solid.
Further down pit road than Alex Zanardi's pit.
So de Ferran reaches the pit out.
And Scott Pruett's right there on the right of your screen. The black and silver car with the yellow helmet he wants to get by. His tires are up to temperature. This is for position. Gilles de Ferran's very lucky here. If he can hold him off in this infield, he can get his tires up to temperature and out-drag him down that back straightaway.
How quickly would you guess he can get those tires up to temp, Stanley?
If he can hold him off in this infield section right here, he'll be okay.
Track temperature up over 140 degrees now on this nearly cloudless day. Certainly cloudless above Portland International Raceway. Gilles de Ferran looking good right there.
He should be able to hold him off, get a little bit more temperature, and be a little cautious through here. But once he comes out into that front straightaway, he'll be standing on the gas.
These cars are running for position. De Ferran is 4th. Scott Pruett is 5th. As you look down from our Honda Helicam, that white and red car is Andre Ribeiro, who is 6th.
How frustrating is that for Scott Pruett? He lost what turned out to be the lead to Alex Zanardi, and now his position, what'll probably end up being 2nd position to Gilles de Ferran, just because his car cannot go as long on the tank of fuel as those others. Nothing doing the setup, nothing doing anything. Just purely coming out behind him, being stopped. The guy has track position, even though their tires are cold, he still can't get by.
And I gotta believe that part of that is that he's got that fuel mixture leaned down so much to go to the distance, Tommy, that he just can't get as racy as Gilles de Ferran.
Here's the running order and the gaps behind the race leader. Currently, BRYAN HERTA. Top 6 cars make that the top 5 cars have all made 2 stops. Andre Ribeiro, who you see running through this train of cars, has made only 1 stop. He has another one coming up.
And guys, the problems for Dario Franchitti continue. First, he stalled, and we confirmed it. He stalled the pits when he made that stop while leading. And now in his what should be his final stop, they couldn't get the fuel nozzle connected properly. They lost about 7 seconds trying to get it to work.
Michael Andretti goes around Andre Ribeiro, but Andretti well back in this race. Right now it is HERTA, Zanardi, Unser Jr., de Ferran, and Pruett. Stay with us. Welcome back to Portland International Raceway. Bob Varsha, Danny Sullivan with you. Jack Arute and Gary Gerald in the pit lane. Tommy Kendall in the festival curves. And Bryan Herta on point with another pit stop coming up here at the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200. Down to Gary Gerald.
Remember, he got out of sequence early when we had that early yellow, and he elected to come in and make it a 3-stop race. Now the strategy here, of course, is because the other contenders have already made their second and apparently final stop, Herta will come in for what they call a short fill. He won't have to take on the full 35 gallons of methanol. They're hoping to gain a few precious seconds that way. It's still going to be close.
Gary, I just don't think that there's enough of a gap that he's got between first and Zanardi, and he's got to make that pit stop. Let's not forget, he's got to go down pit lane at 60 miles an hour. I just don't think he's got enough in hand to put that slash on.
It won't be for a lack of effort because he is really laying down some laps right now. He's running consistently a half a second to 6/10 of a second quicker than everybody else. He's got a light fuel load. His tires are obviously holding up well. He's trying to gap it. He has a clear track in front of him. The short stop, the biggest part of the stop is the slow speed all the way down the pit lane. It's going to be his downfall.
You saw a car spinning just behind Bryan Herta. There is P.J. Jones. It was him going around in Dan Gurney's All-American Racers Toyota Reynard. Oh, and a contact with Dario Franchitti. He tripped over P.J. Jones, clipped the left rear wheel, and pummeled the outside wall. Tremendous damage to Franchitti's car.
And of all things, this might help Bryan Herta because we're going to go full course yellow. This might be a blessing, and it could destroy his chances.
He did exactly what he did last time. He peeled off into the pits before the field bunches up. If he can get that stop in and not have to give up as much track position, Zanardi will go by into the lead, but he will have enough fuel to go the distance and be right behind.
Zanardi has gone by. Bryan Herta is going to come out. He's going to come out in front of Gilles Ferret.
25 laps remaining.
Now with this yellow that's out there on the back, if they put a full course and bunch this field up, he'll be right behind Alex Zanardi with fresh tires and a lot of fuel. He'll have that thing richened up and be able to go racing.
There is Franchitti out of the car after a huge impact with the trackside fence. Here's another look.
All right, Dario Franchitti's on the outside there. P.J. Jones has spun. P.J. moves over, clips this side of the car. His left rear is gone. Big impact right there. Bad angle. Glad to see he's out walking around. Got to tell you, P.J. was not looking in his mirrors right there. He just moved over too much, especially after a spin.
Well, he's feeling that. It's a good thing he's okay, but man, that was a tremendous impact.
Tommy, I think what he's feeling there is the frustration of having been leading this race, having a bad pit stop, stalling it in there, and then having an accident like this.
The kart safety team is on the scene. We'll take a break under a full course caution again here at Portland. Stand by for more of the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200. Here at Portland International Raceway, Alex Zanardi is the race leader. He'll take a look at the full field. Bryan Herta made his last pit stop, came out in second place. We like numbers in history. Here's one for you. In kart champ car history, every time a driver has won 4 races by the 9th round of the season, he has gone on to win the championship. Johnny Rutherford, 1980. Rick Mears in 82. Mario Andretti, Emerson Fittipaldi, Alanzer Jr., Jimmy Vasser all did it. Alex Zanardi's out front looking for his 4th win by the 9th round of the championship. 23 laps to go. Stay with us. Welcome back to Portland International Raceway, still under a full course caution. Green flag coming up shortly. There is Jimmy Vasser running in 10th place in the field. Vasser is one of several kart stars who will be chairman of the 2nd annual charity ride, a pro-celebrity motorcycle ride from Laguna Seca, California to Los Angeles to benefit the U.S. Association of Blind Athletes. Joining Vasser as co-chairman, Bobby Rahal, Parnelli Jones, our own Danny Sullivan, and Adrian Fernandez. It should be a great event.
We have a situation now where the track is breaking up right down in these patch areas. There's big holes right through there. That affects the handling, but it also, you see it, it's just pulling up those rocks. Right there, there's a rock right on the track. It moved over there. I can't keep up with it, but we've got those racks. That really makes it dodgy racing. Now they're out there sweeping it, blowing it, trying to get it go. These guys are going to really have to be careful when we go back to green flag racing in those areas.
Kart safety team heads for its positions. We anticipate a green flag shortly. Stand by for more of the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200. 21 laps remain in the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200. In the lead, Alex Zanardi. Just behind him, that man, Richie Hearn. With more on him, here's Gary Gerald.
A lot of questions about strategy at this point because Richie Hearn is down a lap to the leader in the race contenders. John Della Penna, who is bespectacled here, has been calling the shots. The car owner for Richie Hearn has already been had inquiries from other teams regarding their strategy. He told us rather politically, he says, if the opportunity presents itself, Richie will pull out of the way and let those guys get through cleanly. That's great news as far as BRYAN HERTA is concerned. Remember how fast he was running before that last series of pit stops. He was about a half-second faster than anybody else on the racetrack. Also, one note on HERTA. I asked Ray Lito, his engineer, will you be able to run full rich regarding fuel the rest of the way? And he says, oh, yes.
Okay,
Gary, that's great. I'm sorry, Diane. Gary, that is great, but also let's not forget he's got to let Gilles de Ferran and Scott Pruett through because they're battling as well. And believe me, they're not concerned just with third or fourth place. They want to get right up there and get in the thick of that battle for the lead.
The other thing I was about to say that to keep an eye on, you mentioned it with Dario Franchitti. Dario Franchitti might have injured, didn't injure his neck, but was saying yesterday that he had a sore neck from the high G loading. I noticed on one of the shots that Alex Zanardi seems to be resting his head against the headrest on the straightaway. So some of the guys, I know Jimmy Vassar worked on his extensively. These long corners are all right-handers, the opposite of the side that's been getting built up on the ovals. It's hard to train those muscles specifically, but something to keep an eye on. Maybe fatigue could be an issue.
And we just saw Alex Zanardi light up his left front tire, checking the brakes. You can't do that too much. You'll flat spot those tires and make his restart a little bit difficult.
With each lap in the lead, Alex Zanardi continues to pile up donations to the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. A race win would be worth $5,000 in donations.
If ever there was some incentive for BRYAN HERTA to get this 800-pound gorilla off his back of his first win, the guy who helped put it there is Alex Zanardi. We've already talked about the $350,000. First Father's Day as a father, it's all lined up. He's going to be giving it all he's got.
I can add to that, Tommy. How many times have we seen it come down to this? BRYAN HERTA against Alex Zanardi. I can think of 5 in the last 3 seasons. Laguna Seca 96, Mid-Ohio last year, Vancouver last year, Laguna last year, and of course Long Beach earlier this year. Zanardi getting that jump off the corner.
This is terrible. That's exactly what Zanardi tried to do. It was perfect, but it hurt HERTA. Look who's going down the inside. That blue car right there. That is Gilles de Ferran.
Wheel to wheels. HERTA can't afford to give up here. HERTA straight over the curve.
And look who's going through. Scott Pruett.
Pruett from 4th. You ride with de Ferran on the grass, back on the pavement.
And who is getting the most benefit from this? Alex Zanardi.
It is Zanardi. Here is Scott Pruett. I believe Richie Hearn is just behind him on the racetrack. Oh,
Hearn has pulled off just past my position here. His steering wheel's not straight. The left front suspension is broken.
Well, look at this right there. That tire, both pointing in. That's not the angle that it's supposed to do.
We're listening for radio communication from Gilles de Ferran to Derek Walker, his car owner. He has pulled off the steering wheel, however. I don't think there's much that Gilles de Ferran wants to say. As for Derek Walker, that picture says it all.
Derek Walker is not at all happy about the turn of events. Derek, one moment you really thought that you were going to come into play for the victory. The next moment, total disappointment. Describe the seesaw back and forth.
Well, I mean, we had to go for it, and we got the good line there, but just went out of road on the kink round there. So it's a toss of the coin when you get to that situation. Unfortunately, really, we did a great job today to get that far.
Yeah, but how helpless do you feel when all you can do is watch this monitor and see the door being slammed on your driver?
Well, it's a tough break. We tried it. Very disappointing for everybody, but there'll be another time. We'll turn the tables next time out.
Forever an optimist, but I'll tell you what, I was watching the entire crew from down here, guys, and they went to the lower listen in just about a second and a half.
Fourth DNF of the year for Gilles de Ferran, but new life for that man, Scott Pruett in the Visteon car. Just behind him, BRYAN HERTA in third place. Tony Kanaan is in fourth place. The Brazilian rookie having a great race here for Steve Horn and the Tasman Motorsports Group. Behind Kanaan, Alonso Jr. is fifth. Bobby Rahal is sixth. Andre Ribeiro seventh. Mauricio Gugelmin eighth. Jimmy Vasser back in ninth. Patrick Carpentier in 10th. But right now, Alex Zanardi gunning for his fourth. Stay with us. Welcome back to Portland International Raceway. Alex Zanardi out front with 15 laps to go. 14 next by the start-finish line, and we're going to be with you clean, green, and commercial-free all the way to the checkered flag. Down the backstretch, 185, 190 miles an hour. Zanardi once again working his magic in the CART FedEx Championship Series. Zanardi is already fourth on the all-time lap leader chart here at Portland behind Michael Andretti, Alonso Jr., and Emerson Fittipaldi. And speaking of Alonso Jr., he currently runs in good spot. He started 18th. Great run for little Al.
There you see it again. HERTA, fastest car on the track. And that whole scenario on the restart went exactly how he didn't want it to go. 3/10 of a second quicker that lap. But with Pruett in front of him being so hard to pass, he can get right up on the back room, and they're not going to catch Alex Zanardi.
Tommy, an update on the condition and the fuel condition of Scott Pruett's car. Clean and green, they can run full boost, no concerns at all. They feel like they've got to just do whatever is necessary to try and close in on Zanardi.
And Jack, that's the exact same scenario for the race leader, Zanardi. So all of these guys, full rich, no problems with fuel. That's kind of refreshing after so many events this year where we come down to the final laps playing that guessing game.
Alex Zanardi got a great jump on the restart while the field bunched up behind Richie Hearn and then down into the festival chicane, and here's what we got.
Tony, as you can see right there, when they went through the right-hander, then they turned, Gilles de Ferran tried to stay to the left and pinch BRYAN HERTA. He wasn't having any of it, jumped through, obviously damaged that left front tire. Gilles de Ferran got back on, but Scott Pruett up there had already slipped through.
Now, BRYAN decided to stay on the outside there, which is certainly his prerogative. Gilles tried to force him out onto a part of the track that nobody runs on, extremely dirty. When they got to the corner, they turned the wheels, nothing happened, went straight ahead, ran over Gilles' right front.
I wondered whether there was any damage to HERTA's car, but it was the left front of de Ferran to the right rear of HERTA. That's a battle that the rear tire is just about always going to win. Once again, we will stay with you right to the checkered flag. BRYAN HERTA now closing up on Scott Pruett for second place. This one is long from over.
Scott Pruett's not losing a lot of ground. If not, I think he's closing on Alex Zanardi, who's just going out of our screen.
We'll check again this time by 2.3 seconds. Zanardi to Pruett. 3.1 seconds. Zanardi to HERTA. Could we have another one of those three-way finishes here in Portland, just like last year? Let's wait and see. 12 laps remaining.
Who knows what will happen from here on out, but that whole situation with Hearn on the restart totally deprived us of getting to see what would happen. There was so much talk about what will we do, and I think, Zanardi took advantage of that and just gambled coming down the back straightaway, juiced it. Hearn was worried about the people behind him, ended up just holding them up, giving that huge gap and setting up the incident between de Ferran and HERTA.
Well, right now it's down to these three, Zanardi, Pruett, and HERTA. Tony Kanaan runs about 4 seconds behind BRYAN HERTA third, and now HERTA closing up noticeably behind Pruett. We'll check the speeds at the line. I think we're going to see a number out of BRYAN HERTA. 1:15.3 for Zanardi, 1:15.0 for Pruett, 1:15.5 for BRYAN HERTA. And Tony Kanaan is dropping back.
BRYAN HERTA can throw out those fast laps, but if you can't find a way around Scott Pruett, the other thing he's got to be careful of, if he's really interested in winning the race, he can't get in Scott Pruett's mirrors too much. He needs Scott Pruett to close up on Zanardi. If he gets in behind him too much and diving left and right, it will distract Pruett, and Zanardi will just keep pulling away.
I remember you telling me something like that as we began the last lap 1 year ago here at Portland on a drying track when the order was Gilles de Ferran and there, 27 1/1000ths of a second. Blundell to DeFerrin. This one is Alex Zanardi, Scott Pruett, and Bryan HERTA.
Herta's definitely being held up by Pruett, but Scott Pruett could care less. He's had a miserable year. This second place, he hates to get in the middle of it, but he is certainly not going to do any favors to Bryan HERTA.
Fastest lap of that group of three was Alex Zanardi. Bryan HERTA second quick, Scott Pruett third, and now HERTA is close enough to Pruett that Pruett might well hold him up if he hasn't got the faster car.
Let's not forget that both of these cars are powered by Ford, so they're going to be very equal on power.
Ford looking for their 300th Champ Car victory.
This is exactly what Alex Zanardi wants right now, is these two guys battling over second position, because it gives him a little bit of breathing room. Even if Bryan gets by him right now, the laps are ticking away. He's losing more time. It'll take him longer to catch Zanardi, and then he's got to try to find a way past him.
We'll check the gaps at the line once again. Last time around, Zanardi by 2.9 seconds over Pruett, 3.2 seconds to Bryan HERTA. Here comes Alex Zanardi across the stripe. 9 laps to go. And he has extended his lead to 3.4 seconds over Pruett, 3.9 to HERTA.
Interesting that in the radio conversations, there actually is nothing from Zanardi to the Chip Ganassi Racing team camp. But on the other hand, for Bryan HERTA, they're cheerleading from the pits, urging him on every lap. You're the man, Bryan. Go get him. You got so many laps left. Keep working on Pruett. They're really doing a job trying to keep him pumped to challenge Scott Pruett. But obviously, Pruett doing a great job hanging on to second.
And Pruett is very, very quiet on the radio. Likewise for his Visteon crew. No comments over the last 3 or 4 laps. Only one time was the mic keyed, and somebody said, "You're doing a good job." That's been it. Awfully deadly silent down here.
From a driver's point of view, they know what they have to do in this position. They know exactly where they are. Everybody knows what they want to do is win this race or finish in second spot. Bryan HERTA knows his job, so does Scott Pruett, so does Alex Zanardi. They don't need to talk about it.
8 laps to go. The gap is 3.9 seconds. Zanardi to Pruett, 4.5. Zanardi to HERTA. Don't forget, coming up next year on ESPN Sports Center, a big day in sports. You'll get it immediately following our coverage of the Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200 here on ESPN. The gaps begin to draw out just a little bit now.
Having raced against Scott Pruett for years, the one thing I can say about him is he does not make mistakes. The guy you can put heat on him, and he will run. If he's not in the fastest car, he will run that lap timer within a tenth all day long, which is not good news for Bryan HERTA. If he'd make a little slip, HERTA can get by. The laps are ticking off, but the way it is now with the aerodynamics of these cars, he's going to have a tough time making it down.
Alex Zanardi's father passed away a few years ago, but Bryan HERTA's father, Tom, is here looking on. Scott Pruett's father, Bob, is here on his Father Day at Portland International Raceway.
Hey, Bob, don't forget, Scott Pruett's a new daddy, so he's celebrating Father's Day for the first time as a recipient as well.
That's right, it works in both directions. Happy Father's Day to everyone. From all the dads here at ESPN. This is going to be a great finish. Zanardi, Pruett, HERTA, 7 to go. Scott Pruett driving for Pat Patrick. Put his life savings into getting his first Champ Car drive at Long Beach, California, 8-9 years ago. Suffered a bad accident in testing. Spent a year rehabbing. Did much of the development work for the then new Firestone Champ Car tires. Now Alex Zanardi has slower traffic. Dennis Vitolo just ahead of him in the Smith Klein car for Peyton Coyne Racing. Zanardi disposes of him. Chip Ganassi, upper left, watching his man at work. Chip was recently inducted into the Western chapter of the Pennsylvania Hall of Fame, joining the likes of Arnold Palmer, Roberto Clemente, Honus Wagner, and Stan Musial. Asked him about the other night. He is still tickled to death about it. Right now, he and his partner, Joe Montana, another athletic star from Western Pennsylvania, are watching their man, Alex Zanardi, going for his 4th victory of the year, the 6th for Target Chip Ganassi Racing. 9 events this season. think about getting out there on the marbles as he goes around P.J. Jones. Here comes Pruett around Vitolo.
Oh, and Vitolo held up Bryan HERTA. He had to wait just a little bit, gave a little bit more cushion for Scott Pruett.
There is Pat Patrick. A quarter of a century spent in this form of motorsports. One of the most successful teams in the pit lane. Both Scott Pruett and Adrian Fernandez's car. He would love for Pruett to join his teammate in the hunt for the PPG Cup and the $1 million bonus that will go with it to the championship-winning driver at season's end. 5 laps to go here at Portland. Quickly to the pit lane, Gary Gerould.
Gilles LaFerre in the long walk back. How aggressive a move was that to try to get that position from your seat?
Well, I thought it was a bit of a new judge maneuver there. I mean, I thought I got Bryan on the inside, turning right, and he tried to get back around on my outside, turning left, but then he couldn't stop to make the left hand that came bouncing over the curbs and hit my left front wheel. It's a shame because, you know, the Valvoline coming, Scott was running pretty good, and I thought maybe a second place was in the bag. You know, the team did a good stop in the pits. I was pushing really hard the whole afternoon. I thought definitely a second place was in my mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's 2 guys right there that definitely have second place in their mind as well. Bryan HERTA lost a little bit of ground when he was passing the slower car. He's made it back up. 4 laps to go. He wants to get close enough to have a run at Scott Pruett in these next couple of laps.
Gaps are now 5.1 seconds from Zanardi to Pruett. 5.5 back to Bryan HERTA in third. Closes up.
HERTA's mind right now is not about first place. His mind is just to get by Scott Pruett.
Looking up the long front straightaway. See how wide it is? Plenty of room to maneuver if you have a shot. Coming off turn 9, accelerating hard down the straightaway. Here comes Alex Zanardi. 3 laps to go. And the gap is down to 4.9 seconds to the battle for second. Ooh, Bryan HERTA very close to Pruett there.
This is the closest he's been. There's not really a part of the track where you can pass on, but he's the closest he's been. He's worried Pruett into altering his line, but still, unless you have an off, you're not going to get by someone here.
Tommy, I agree with you there, but if he keeps worrying him, he's got to stay with him very closely down the back straightaway to possibly have a shot there, and particularly coming out of the last turn onto that front straightaway and out braking into your area of the festival curves.
That's where it's going to happen. He's closer than he's been, but still getting off 9 is the key.
Getting through this section right here is very important. He's got to stay with him, get on the brakes good. Scott's got about a car and a half. Put the power down very good. Come out and make sure your shifts are good. Get a little draft off of him.
HERTA's on him.
I don't think he's close enough. He's going to go one.
Nope. Keep in mind all of the highlights from today's Budweiser GI Joe's 200 and the PPG Golden Indy Light Series, as well as the rest of the day in motorsport, will be on RPM tonight. Check that time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on ESPN2. The Portland round of the Indy Lights Championship will air at 7 o'clock. 2 laps to go for Alex Zanardi, seeking the 4th straight victory for Target Chip Ganassi Racing. Sports Center to come immediately following our coverage of this race. Once again, Bryan HERTA closes up behind Scott Pruett. Both cars are Reynard chassis.
This is a little closer this time. A little bit, about a half a car length. Last lap.
White flag for Alex Zanardi, but all eyes are on the battle for second. Reynard Fords on Firestone tires for both men, Scott Pruett and Bryan HERTA. Ago in Detroit, reintroduced his trademark Victory Donuts. And I would almost bet we will see them again if he can hold on for the checkered flag here in Portland.
With the width of
the straightaway here, we're definitely going to see donuts.
Now keep in mind, Alex Zanardi is going to be a father later this year. His wife Daniela expecting, I believe it's in September. Alex wanted to clinch the championship by August so that he could go be with Daniela. I'm sure Chip Ganassi isn't buying it, but it looks like Alex Zanardi means to make good on that promise. Off the turn he comes, now the straightaway, and the fans rise from the grandstands to welcome home Alex Zanardi, picking up his second victory here at Portland, his fourth win of this season, his 12th career victory. The battle for second between Pruett and HERTA will go to Scott Pruett. Donuts, he's asking the crowd, you want to see me go around?
I did a little background. I've uncovered some of the technique. He screws it. Oh, he stalled the car.
There'll be no donuts today. Daniela watching the big screen, and she just looked up there and said, oh, I can't believe it.
That's it. Let's push start him. What the heck?
Watch him if he gets it going, though. Oh!
Here's the technique. There you see it. Part of the that's the tightest corners we've seen. What he does is he screws the brake bias all the way to the front, runs his left foot on the brake, and then just banks those Firestones.
I hope he doesn't lose sight of the wall.
Well done, his engineer on the right. Chip Ganassi enjoying it. There is Michael Andretti, who comes home unofficially in 17th place, out of the points, 3 laps down. There is Alex Zanardi, 4th win in a row for Target Chip Ganassi Racing. We'll meet him in a moment.
Well, we're still waiting for the donut maker, but up on the big screen, we can see that he has stopped. He's throwing his armbands apparently up over the fence to the fans. I don't know if he stalled it there, if he's kept it running or not. Oh, here he goes again. In a cloud of smoke, he leaves the strip of rubber behind, and he's approaching now victory lane, where he's going to get a typical Team Target Zanardi jubilant reception. And boy, the chaos is beginning. Gentlemen, I've got to get over there. You are not supposed to be here. Thank you very much. We don't have a whole lot of time, and so Alex is coming up there, and as soon as he pops that helmet, we'll get a quick word with him. The man who has done it now, he's been on the podium 13 of the last 16 events, back into the middle of last season. Alex, tell me about this one today. Any problems anywhere that had you concerned? It looked like you had things pretty well covered.
Yeah, I had a big problem. I ran out of rubber to do the second set of donuts, so sorry for the fans at the end of the lap. No, besides joking, obviously, once again, great thanks to my crew. They were awesome. Once again, they put me in front, and that was it. Obviously, Firestone provide us great tires, but unfortunately, they give it to other people too. So what I'm really happy is that now that I've seen the heat coming, I see a lot of people starting to pit earlier than us with the Honda, so they got to be a little concerned with the fuel consumption. And more than that, they have to tune their engines down, which at the beginning of the season seems to be unbeatable. So our engine now, it's running well. So once again,
that is good news. Great job once again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
And Bob, how about it when your biggest concern is making donuts for the fans?
No question about it. A great day for Alex Zanardi. A $5,000 donation to the Target House at St. Jude's. There you see final results. We're just about out of time. Sports Center is coming up next. Here's the championship after 9 rounds. Zanardi over Moore, Vassar, Fernandez, Gilles and Brian HERTA jumps up to 6th. I'm Bob Varsha for Danny Sullivan, Tommy Kendall, Gary Gerald, and Jack Aroon. We gotta go. So long from Portland. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.